This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Am I too positive? Am I too much of a homer? It's a criticism that I've seen as a response to my takes of the Cleveland Browns. And I think it's an important conversation to have because this is an opportunity for me to tell you, the audience, how I go about this on a daily basis. Now, I'm going to start before I even broach the conversation by saying this. Every decision I make about this channel, about the partnerships that I have, the people I collaborate with on this channel, or the sponsorships and deals I take with this channel and the ways I get access for this channel is with this one thing in mind. I want to always be able to tell you how I feel about the Browns without any asterisks. I don't want to ever be muted in that way. If I feel something about the team, if I think something about the team, I come on here, I sit in this chair, and I tell you how I feel, what I think, and I tell you why I think that. I don't pursue relationships and sources within the Cleveland Browns for that reason. I'm not one who tries to get a relationship with players to get information. I'm not one who wants to have inroads with Andrew Berry, who wants to be able to have a relationship with the Cleveland Browns organization, because that's something that can compromise my ability to talk about the team honestly. If I'm worried about criticizing Andrew Berry because then he won't do an interview with me, then I'm compromised. If I'm worried about criticizing Martin Emerson, David Njoku, Deshaun Watson, because then they won't come on my channel, then I'm compromised. I don't pursue things, and I'm not saying everybody that has a player interview on their channel is compromised in that way, but inherently, when you want somebody to appear on your channel, you do want to be nice to them when they're not on the channel so they come back. I have made it clear. I don't bring in players to be interviewed. The people I bring in as guests on this channel are other members of the media or people who have podcasts who are in that space. I don't really pursue interviewing players because if I want to maintain that relationship that got me that interview in the first place, well, then I gotta not be as free when it comes to talking about how I feel about players. So that's first and foremost. I will not have my integrity questioned, okay? I make every decision on that. I make sacrifices. I don't get to have certain people on, and it's much harder for me to get access because of how I operate. But how I operate does guarantee that you're getting my honest thoughts about the Cleveland Browns. I started this channel to tell you how I feel about the Cleveland Browns and to talk to other people who might not feel the same way, might feel the same way, but do want to talk about the Cleveland Browns. My dream with sports talk is to deliver the type of sports talk I always wanted to listen to. And that is honest sports talk, agendaless sports talk, outside of being a Browns fan. Obviously, I'm a fan of the Browns. I love the Browns, but just because I love the Browns doesn't mean I can't be negative on the Browns. Like everybody who loves the Browns has said something or a lot of things negative about the Browns. So I don't get where that perception comes from. So first and foremost, that is why I go about things. And that is my number one rule of this channel, is to make sure that that is maintained. My ability to speak to you as I see it is the most important thing to me when it comes to this. I don't care about access. It's nice when I get to go to camp, but if me getting to go to camp means that I have to compromise my ability to criticize certain players on the team or certain members of the management, I will not do it. It's not worth it. What good is access if that access is censored? Right? What good is me being behind the scenes if I can't tell you the things that I actually feel about it? It would be pointless. It would just be vanity. And it's not something I'm interested in. It's not how I want to do this job. So that's why I'm here talking about, am I too positive? Because, I feel good about the Browns, and I think a lot of people should feel good about the Browns. I mean, they're returning one of the best defenses in the NFL, a defense that by any metric is top 3 at the very least, if not number 1. They also are returning the defensive coordinator of the year, the assistant coach of the year in Jim Schwartz. They're returning a head coach of the year, a 2-time head coach of the year, a head coach who is making similar changes to the offense that he made to the defense last year that came in big, and now you're bringing in Ken Dorsey, somebody who's had top 5 passing offenses, who's worked with quarterbacks similar to the one that you have, and I feel good about it. And people think that I'm being too positive because I feel good about the team right now. A team, by the way, that went 11-6. A team that went 11-6 despite 26% of the salary cap being on injured reserve. And a team that found a way to win games with 4 different quarterbacks. And oh, by the way, that 26% of the salary cap that's on injured reserve, a lot of that, if not almost all of it, was focused on the offensive side of the ball. I think that this team can be good. Hey, you might not be sold on Deshaun Watson. I'm not sold on him either. I've been pretty open about that as well. I think it's going to be an open question on what he's going to be. Is he going to be what he was last year? In my opinion, I thought he was average to above average. Is he going to be the Pro Bowl to elite guy that we traded for? Or is he going to be something worse than what we saw the last year? But I do know that even if the worst case scenario happens at quarterback, you're probably going to be fine because you have a defense that can carry you to multiple wins. And the reason I feel that way is because that's literally what happened last year. So, am I too positive? Am I too much of a homer? Well, what does that mean? Is being a homer, is being too positive mean that I just want the team to win? Right? Is that being too positive? Is that I think the team can win? Is that being too positive? Is being too positive somebody who only speaks in positive terms? Well, that's definitely not me. I don't exclusively speak in positive terms. Like, I am a glass half full guy for sure. And I have no shame in that. And I promote being a glass half full guy. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But too positive, I don't know if that's the case. If the team is in the negative part, I talk about it negatively. If the team does things I don't like, I talk about it appropriately. Let's talk about like Cade York, right? I wasn't a big fan of the Browns drafting Cade York. I ended up being right about that. I was also wrong about Perrion Winfrey. I thought that was going to be a great pick for the Cleveland Browns. It ended up being a disaster. But I did not love the Cade York pick. I was critical of the Cade York pick. I made multiple videos about why I think that GMs have a flawed process about why they go and draft these kickers, and Andrew Berry is most certainly included. He's drafted 2 kickers. I also don't just assume that I know more than Andrew Berry because Andrew Berry has earned the benefit of the doubt through his track record in the NFL. So while I was critical, I'm not going to come out here and bullshit you like I think Andrew Berry should be fired because he did a thing I don't like. Sometimes I feel like people want me to be more egotistic with my takes, like think that because I think something, I think other people should be fired. Like if I disagree with the thing that Kevin Stefanski does, which happens often, it's a disagreement. It doesn't have to be, I think he should be fired. He's not the right guy for the job because we disagree. That's silly. It's lunacy. If you want everybody fired who disagrees with you, you'll never have anybody who works with you ever again. Sometimes you disagree. Sometimes you are right in the disagreement. Sometimes you are wrong in the disagreement. But always have the humility to admit that you could be wrong. So when I disagree, I'm not going to tear them down because I disagree. I think too positive is somebody who's view of the game is compromised, somebody whose honesty is compromised, right? I can't be negative about this player because I will not destroy that relationship I have because I need to get a scoop. I will not be negative or say anything negative publicly about this coach because I need to know when things happen behind the scenes and I need to be somebody that person can talk. That is when too positive or compromised. And I think that's the word we're looking for. Too positive, too negative. It's kind of a childish way of talking about it, but we're really talking about when somebody's viewpoint, when somebody's objectiveness is compromised. I am not compromised. Whether you agree with me or not, I'm telling you exactly how I feel. I'm not sitting here turning off the camera feeling bad about the Browns. I feel great about this team. And if you run into me in real life and you don't even know I have a YouTube channel, you would know this because that's how I talk about the team to everybody. I think they're in a good spot. Things could go wrong. Things could go wrong every year, but it looks good. Now let's go back to that glass half full thing because I'm shameless about that. I love having a glass half full mindset. It's very important to me for very personal reasons that I'll get to in a minute. But here's the thing that people who have a more cynical approach, people who have a more, let's say, negative approach, forget about the term glass half full. Still got to have water in the cup, right? It's not I'm being positive about nothing is there. Something's there. I think I can make it happen. Glass half full. See, I always promote people to have that kind of a mindset. I always promote people to figure out ways and to look at obstacles as things that can be overcome in most cases. There are obviously obstacles bigger than the individual that exist and they deserve to be talked about and such. But for regular individual size obstacles, I always tell people that you got to figure it out. That's been my mindset. See, I was born as somebody who had multiple blood clots at birth. I almost died when I was born. Before my story started, it almost ended. And being told that story your entire life builds a certain mindset. I didn't grow up in the greatest circumstances, not the worst, right? My dad worked very hard. My mom worked very hard. They did what they could and they did the best they could. And they provided more than some had, but not most. And that is what it is. I had to overcome some obstacles. It wasn't easy for me to get to college. It wasn't easy for me to afford college. There were obstacles in my way. I found my way past those obstacles because when things come in front of me, when pressure arises, when problems arise, I don't love to stew. Like, it sucks. It's here. Let's figure it out. That is how I go about it. So when something happens with the Browns, of course I have that same mindset. Because if I didn't have that mindset, that negativity shouldn't stop you dead in your tracks, that something bad happening isn't a death sentence on everything that you've ever wanted to achieve, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be on your screen. I might not even be a brother to my sister. You feel me? Of course, I have a glass half full mindset. And because I'm not overtly negative, because I have this, and I guess it's rare amongst people who cover this team, I kind of get pigeonholed as positive guy, right? There are a lot of people who cover the Browns. There are a lot of people who don't really have much of a relationship with me that pigeonhole me like that in the media. There are a lot of people who do it in the comment section. I'm sure that they talk about me offhand and just write me off as the positive guy. Well, he's just Mr. Positive. He's just going to be positive all the time. And that bugs me because, again, I go through great lengths to make sure that my view is uninhibited, that I give to you on this channel. But sometimes people pigeonhole me into that, and it's usually the more cynical of Browns fans and Browns media that like to pigeonhole me into that. And I think that they do that because they're too lazy to challenge what I'm actually saying. Because I don't just say positive shit on this channel. I say things and back them up. I show you tape. I break down film. I break down statistics. I break down trends. I bring on experts, some associated with the Browns, some not, to talk about these things. And then I finish with a positive outlook sometimes. See, I think sometimes people who have negative and cynical mindsets think that instead of being negative and cynical, that they think that they're being realistic, right? Because to them, negativity is realistic because it's how they see things. And look, I'm not looking around the life and seeing nothing but roses, daisies, and bunnies hopping around and positivity, right? It's not me. I'm a very realistic dude. If you knew me in my real life, you would know this. Those who do know this about me. I'm a very realistic dude. I make charts. I make budgets, all these things. I'm not just like, hey, man, we just go through life shining through with positivity and all that bullshit. I really am a pragmatic guy. So my view of the Browns is pragmatic right now. If they had a bunch of bad things going on, I would tell you about it. And I'm this way with any team that I talk about. I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers, but if the Steelers were doing something that I thought was dope, I would tell you, hey, we better watch out. They're doing something I think is good. I told you this when the Ravens were doing shit. I'm like, hey, that's going to work. I'm telling you this right now about the Bengals because I think they're one of the most underrated teams in the NFL right now. But when I talk about the Browns, I'm being that same guy. I don't have a positive view of the team. I don't have a negative view of the team. I don't have an optimistic view of the team. I have my view of the team. That is the perspective that I work hard to give you. I don't think of everything that the Browns do and try to find a way to make it positive. If I say it, that's just how I feel. By the way, I just want to put this in here because I just thought about it after I hit the end on record. So imagine this is an epilogue. Don't ever let somebody fool you into thinking that the negative mindset is the realistic mindset. I always preach, keep your head up because you can't see any opportunities in front of you when you're looking down. Gotta have your head up. That doesn't mean that you have your head so high in the sky that you can't see what's blatantly in front of you, right? That just means keep your head up. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. But keep your head up. And I guess that kind of encapsulates how I talk about this team. That kind of encapsulates how I feel about my responsibility and my duties as somebody who does this as a living. I am always, at minimum, keeping my head up, right? Seeing what's in front of me. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. See that glass half full, man. Because you know what? At the end of the day, it's still some water in there.